Amir, you've got two messages in October, here in a couple of weeks, and one of them is what in the world is going on? Well, that's a loaded question because so much is going on. How are you going to be tackling that? Because we could talk for 10 hours on what in the world is going on.
So much is going on almost every day. I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to be valid by the time we're going to have the conference.
That's right.
And anyway, normally I put together my messages days, if not sometimes hours before I deliver them. But I'm going to talk about how Bible prophecy is being accurately fulfilled in the recent, most current events, not only in Israel and the Middle East, but also around the world. But I will definitely put most of my emphasis on that which is I believe, preparation for the war of Ezekiel. And I will also say that we have to see the greater picture of the preparation of the world for the great world leader that should rise as a result of that Ezekiel war. And that may lead me to the other message about what is going on right now in Western Europe and how Europe will eventually give birth to that person. So these are the two things I'm going to talk about.
Well, you're talking about giving birth to the Antichrist, am I right?
Correct.
Yeah. And you feel that he will come out of Europe, as I do, based on Daniel 9:27. And then we've got our brothers who are teaching that the Antichrist, of course, will be a Muslim. We've actually covered that on air before. It just isn't possible. You explain it. How would the Jews react to a Muslim Antichrist? Talk to me about it.
Problem is that we keep forgetting that his name is Antichrist only in the New Testament, but for them, it's going to be Christ. It's going to be Mashiach. It's going to be Messiah. So we, as much as we would like to think that a world leader might come from Muslim countries and he's going to be Muslim, the Jewish person, the average Jewish person, can never, ever see a Muslim as his Messiah. It's not even in the lexicon of any Jew. There's no doubt about it. But beyond that, find me one Muslim who is a Muslim, yes, that will allow the Jews to build a temple on the Temple Mount, which is the third holiest site for Islam in the world. Allow me one Muslim who is actually for peace and not for war. And I'm talking about someone who follows Islam, someone who wants to implement Islamic theology. So, everything doesn't make sense in that theory. Plus, when you read Daniel and you see all that he talks about, where is he coming from, and all of that, there's no doubt in my mind. And every time I come to Europe, I see a much more ready Europe than even a year before for the giving birth of that person from that area. Believe it or not, what the Antichrist is going to be is something that even the Muslims will have a hard time with. We must understand the level of, I would say, depravity of that person would even embarrass Muslims. And it's not going to embarrass anyone in Western Europe. I visit Western Europe quite often recently because I am absorbing that. I am looking all around. I'm seeing all around. It is unbelievable how ready this area of the world is, morally, spiritually, physically, and even financially and militarily, to the rise of someone like that. And if you really go into details of that person, you really understand that anyone with any morals would not be able to even support such a thing. As I said, even the Muslims will be embarrassed by something like that.
Do you feel that this man of lawlessness will come literally out of Rome, or do you feel that it's just in general the European area?
As I'm going to explain, we're looking at the revived Roman Empire. So it doesn't have to be necessarily from Rome, the city, but it can definitely come from what the Roman Empire used to be and is back ever since the Rome Treaty that revived the Roman Empire, and the Lisbon Treaty from 2009, which enabled Europe to vote for a president once again of all of Europe, or at least the EU. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and Europe is definitely preparing itself for that particular event. And I'm sad because I love Europe. It's a beautiful continent and with so much heritage. I mean, Americans, their heritage to Europe, basically.
Yes.
And to think that that which once used to be so amazing and so rich with culture is so deprived right now, and so immoral right now, and so dark spiritually right now, and it's not even with any identity anymore. I mean, you look at the European cities, and you don't see Dutch in Amsterdam as much as Belgium in Brussels or in other Scandinavian cities. It's all a mixture of people that are so lost and confused and outraged, and man, it's so dark that it's even hard to put in words.
But they threw God out 50,
No
60
doubt.
years
There's
ago, which
yeah.
America is doing as we speak, doing the same thing, same mistake. But once they threw God out, then only the darkness could take the place. And Islam is just taking over.
Yeah, they threw God out, and that's why the pilgrims left Europe on the way to find a place where they can worship God. But then look what happened in America. But you see that even the Muslims that are now fleeing from the Arab countries like Syria and Libya, they're actually like very ripe fruits falling in the hands of the Catholic Church right now for being part of a new religion, because they're running away from Islam and what Islam did to them. No one else killed them but radical Muslims in those countries. And so you really see in Europe, it's way more than what we can see. It's actually under the ground. You see a scheme of the devil to capture as many people as possible in that web of new religion, new faith, new movements. And it's all about the borders of nationalities are being completely blurred. The borders of everything is being gone. Now it's all about unity,
Yes.
and it's all about accepting everyone as long as they're good people. You're going to hear those words, good people, good deeds, good thoughts. And suddenly, God is not even part of the equation. Jesus is definitely out of the window long ago. And you can see that is the pinnacle of the achievement of man without God, is that eventually it will produce so much evil in one person and so much worship, blind worship of everybody around of that one person.